Order in the court! Order in the goddamn court!
Sir, you're out of order.
All rise.
All right.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
It's a delay. Hold on. No, I don't hear you. Damn. Was that Maddie?
I think they can hear me now. They should be able to hear me now. You let me know, Dustin. My voice starts.
Yeah,
coming out.
I can hear you.
All right, now can you all hear yourselves?
Yeah, I can hear myself and
All right, so we're good. There we go. That was it right there. All right, so what is up, Spurs Nation?
We figured on the first try.
One day this stream is gonna like start perfect. Maybe the next one. Maybe the next one. So what's up, Spurs Nation? We want to give you guys a shout out for going to OOCspurs.com and voting for our first topic of the day. You had the choices. It was up to you guys. It was up to you guys to choose between Luka Samanic, Tim Duncan, the coach, Rudy Gay, or if you wanted us to scan Spurs Twitter. So who won that poll? I'll tell you right after we introduce our panel today. First off, we got Harrison joining us from San Antonio Spurs Talk Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. What's going on, Harrison?
What's up, Rob? I'm tired, getting used to the new sleep schedule, but hanging in there, ready to talk some Spurs.
What's going on, Destin? Destin and I just did a podcast the other day. Stay tuned for that. It was with Noah Magaro from Twitter, and he's also a writer for Pounding on the Rock. So stay tuned for that. Destin, what's going on?
Man, none much. Just stay in quarantine.
Yeah. So how's first before we get into all that stuff and talk about the poll? Just what's up, dude? How are you guys doing? Are we all doing all right?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. I'm feeling good. My sleep schedule isn't as off as Harrison's, so I guess that's good. But yeah, I've been.
Dude, I actually encountered my first pair of protesters today.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing was I was going to pick up McAllister's, and they were sitting outside of the McAllister's parking lot, 6 feet apart in chairs with like signs. I was like, y'all protesting this, but y'all are following it.
Are they protesting 6 feet apart from each other?
What's their protest?
Yeah, so I wasn't quite sure like what they're doing. I was like, but to each their own, man. To each their own.
Yeah, you know what? I don't mind this quarantine stuff. I love being at home. I love working on my computer, and I love watching TV and shows and stuff. And I still go get out and stuff. But like my fiance, man, I don't know how much longer she can last, man. like with life, it's a good thing here in Texas. I think everything's gonna be opening up, man. Like in a few days or a week or so, like things are gonna be opening back to normal. How normal that will be, who knows? But so let's get into the poll. The first topic.
She has to, like, live
she's getting frustrated. I don't know how long we're gonna be engaged, man. I don't know, this quarantine thing. It was bad timing, man. Bad timing. But nah. Okay, so you guys voted. The first topic for today is Luka Samanic. Second, behind Luka Samanic was Scan Spurs Twitter. So that's what we're gonna be really talking about today. Let's start off with Luka, guys. Luka is to me one of the guys that I think might be our sleeper franchise player in a few years. It's just the potential and with the age that we got him at. It's not like Derek White where we got this guy with all this potential, but he was a little bit older, you know, and Bryn Forbes, he was a little bit older, all these guys, you know. Luka's 19 with the ceiling. The ceiling is the roof, Harrison. Is that how it goes?
So they tell me.
What do y'all think?
You don't want to claim that?
I mean, I'll claim it. I just didn't think it was the best thing of all time. But I'll go with it. I'll say the sky's the limit. But yeah, man, I'm really high on Luka. I don't know. I get a lot of flack, especially on my page, for saying it. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a wasted draft pick." Everybody like pines over the fact that we didn't draft Brandon Clark and Matisse Thybulle. And yeah, they're really good players, but I mean, I think Matisse Thybulle is going to get better than he is. But I think Brandon Clark is kind of the player that he is. You know, he played a few years over in college basketball, and I mean, similar to Derek White, he played 4 years there. He is the player that he's going to be. He's going to get a little bit better, but for the most part, we know what we have with him. Luka, it's kind of a risk that we take, but you talk about that potential. He's already really good, and then we're looking at having him just get that much better over the years. And we talked about all getting multifaceted players. I mean, this is a guy that can possibly do everything in the years to come. And, a lot of our guys this year can only do one or two things really well. And I think it's important to get guys who can do multiple things on the court, because that's what's winning games in the NBA right now. And I think he's kind of the start to that. Pair him with Lonnie and DJ and those kind of guys.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting what you said, because you said that, like, and I noticed it too, like a lot of fans were really upset initially when we got Luka. And I kind of was too in a way, but it was just so much me being kind of ignorant to Luka because I didn't know a lot about him. I knew that we were scouting him, but, I glanced at some of his highlights and was like, I just called it off. Like, oh, well, hopefully, if we get him, cool, but I'm okay if we don't. But the more I look at him, the more I'm like, yeah, this dude is something serious. He has a lot in his arsenal. And one thing that I found very interesting, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I noticed that R.C. Buford, oftentimes he's not really, I don't know, I never really seen him as like a huge spokesman on what a player needs to improve. I don't hear him say that a lot, but he seemed very hard on Luka initially. Like he came right out the gate saying, well, he's good, but he got to work on this. And I don't remember him doing that with other prospects. So I think that this team, by him doing that and being that, critical, critiquing him like that and being critical like that, I think that shows that they do have a lot of faith in him and they know that he could be something serious, and maybe, they just want to push him towards that. Because I never seen RC really do that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about on draft night where he came out and said, we drafted him at 19. We know that he's not all that great at, X, Y, and Z, but, if he was good at those things, he'd have gone a lot higher. And that's just so smart where the Spurs are willing to take that risk because we have the development tools and track record to turn any prospect into maybe what they should become and elevate their ceilings, year by year. And I think that when he saw the package that Luka was, obviously, like you guys said, that they've known about him for a while. I just think, when I think about Luka and RC, I think when he talked about, he's the future of what the NBA is going to be. The NBA is going to require a position at small forward or power forward that's multiverse, Kevin Durant-esque. I mean, it's pretty much you're asking him, to be we're trying to create a Spurs team where we have a player like Kevin Durant at that position, someone who can score at that position, run the offense at that position, put the ball in his hands, get the rebound and go. A lot of those dynamics are kind of, I feel like, what we're going towards I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I see it. I definitely see it. I remember it was one player. I don't remember what his name was, and maybe Harrison, you might know. He was very lanky. He played kind of like Kevin Durant, but he was older. And I think he played for us in the G League, and the Spurs were looking towards him. And you remember?
I'm trying to think. The only guy I can think of is like real tall and lanky. We had Amita Brima from Connecticut, but he was never really a Kevin Durant type player. We had Ben Moore that we got from Cleveland's G League team, who was kind of similar. He's like 6'9" forward.
I took a picture with him at Summer League last year. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, I like Ben Moore. I still think he can make an NBA roster.
Yeah, he's cool.
I mean, it's everybody's trying to find that Kevin Durant type guy. I mean, that's why Bruno Caboclo was drafted, and he's never kind of panned out. I mean, that's what people were high on Bowl for that reason. We kind of were looking at Chimezi at possibly being that. But, everybody was like, well, the Spurs should have reevaluated. But, I got to talk to the guy. He's now our director of player personnel, but he was our head of scouting at the time. And he was over in Greece for the better part of a year looking at Luka. They were scouting Luka for like 3 years overseas. And I mean, so like had pegged him as their guy for this draft for a while. And, people are saying, we should have taken him second round. I don't think he would have dropped in the second round. And I think even if he was a second round talent, they would have probably looked at taking him in the first just to make sure they got him because they really wanted him.
Do y'all think that they would have took him if what was that guy's name last year, Destin, that was out there? Was it Goga that the Spurs were really high on? And I really liked him too. You think if he was still available, we still would have went with Luka?
Yeah, because didn't he get drafted like right before, right? Like pick right before.
Yeah, I went to the Pacers.
The Pacers, Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, who was the other player that happened to us too? It happened to us before. Who was that? Because wasn't it a player that we almost had?
Kyle Kuzma.
Kyle Kuzma, yeah.
Kuzma. We made it known like we wanted Kuzma, and then he got taken, and we ended up with Derek.
Yeah, you asking like would they have done that? I think so. I think they would have went with him, and I think that's part of RC coming out and being so, hard on Luka. Is like, like you said, he said if he would have had these aspects to his game, he would have went earlier. But I think that they would have went the other way. I think that they were higher on the other guy. I actually haven't kept up with him much this season. I don't know how much he played.
He didn't play a lot. He might have been injured or something like the whole year.
Okay. See, I mean, it might be a win for. Look, I'm happy with who we got. Like, because Luka, the more I look at him, the more I see him in the G League, I'm happy with it. Now, as far as is his ceiling Kevin Durant, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think he has like the talent, maybe. I don't know if he has the athleticism of Kevin Durant. But to me, he doesn't even seem like a Kevin Durant to me. I keep seeing him as like a skinnier Jokic. Like that's the one player that always stands out to me when I see him. He just doesn't.
If y'all watching The Last Dance, Luka is really similar to Tony Kukoc. If y'all been watching that, that's like almost exactly how his game is.
Well, he's Croatian too, right? Isn't he Croatian?
What's that?
Isn't he Croatian already? I mean, Kukoc?
Honestly, I have no idea.
I think so.
I'm going to sound ignorant, but once you get into the C's pronounced like CHs, I have a hard time telling you where people come from.
Yeah, I just like the idea of maybe he being the guy, man. Like, I get all excited about that because, like, man, what does the rest of the team look like when Luka is your best player and he's the guy that you kind of run things through, and he starts edging people out like Trey Lyles and Jakob and those guys for minutes at the 5 because most likely he's gonna be. I mean, the Spurs did a lot of small ball 5 with Trey Lyles this year. I would think that they have the same plans for Luka.
I want to address something in chat. Luis Cervantes said, I think he'll be a taller, quicker Boris Diaw. What do you guys think about that? I don't know about that. A taller, quicker Boris Diaw? Maybe.
I mean, if he's talking about IQ, I mean their IQs could be very similar. I mean, Boris Diaw is a basketball savant. I mean, or basketball croissant. I don't know whichever one it was, but he's
The
super.
Michelin man of basketball.
Yeah, but he was way ahead of everyone else on the floor, especially at his position or in the bigs in general. He was smarter than most bigs out there, and that's why him and Tiago Splitter were just so good together.
Yeah, I don't know. I know you said potentially. I don't really see that similarity much. I mean, I guess I see it a little bit with the passing, but like you said, Boris Diaw was all mental. Like his IQ was just through the roof. As far as Luka is concerned, I think Luka will be better than Boris. But I don't know if he'll have the passing ability of Boris. Boris, because wasn't he initially like a guard?
Yeah, he was like a point forward. He was one of those
Yeah.
original point forwards when the game was changing.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know. I think that's another thing that's interesting to me because I know a lot of fans have been saying that they've been kind of looking for the next Diaw, or we do it with Manu, and we've been doing it with Diaw a lot too. It's like who's going to be the next Diaw, or this player can be a Diaw type player. And yeah, because we did it with Kyle Anderson too. We were like, Kyle Anderson's going to be the next Diaw. So I don't know. I don't know if we necessarily, with the new direction that the Spurs are going to have to go in, I don't even know if we'll need a Diaw. He was perfect for that time for 2014 Spurs. I don't know if we'll need that in the future. I don't know.
For me, it's like I can see where people like want to compare him to Diaw just because he can do just about everything on the court, and Diaw could do everything on the court. But I agree with you, Destin. I think he's going to be, and I think part of the reason people compare that is because we've never really had anybody else kind of like that in this era of basketball. And I think, Luka, everybody wants to harp on that he played in Europe and all this stuff. But when Luka played against people his age in Europe, and that's where you have to look at with these kids with college kids, you look at who they play against in their age group, because that's what gives you an idea of what they're going to be in their prime. Against kids his age, and he was 18, he averaged 23 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 3 blocks. So, I think he's going to be able to do it all, but I think he's going to be able to do it all at a much higher level than Diaw was able to.
I can see that.
Yeah, to say that Diaw would be like his ceiling is really underselling, and that's not a knock on Boris. I mean, obviously, but is underselling what Luka can become.
No, I love Boris.
Yeah, so like if I was gonna, I'm trying to think here. If I'm gonna put a player comparison to Luka, I'm gonna try to make a new one, right? One I haven't thought of. I would say that he can have the athletic ability and athletic impact on a game like an Aaron Gordon or a Blake Griffin. The athleticism that he can maybe 3 or 4 years down the road have, after 2 or 3 years of the weight room, of NBA weight room, stuff like that. And then skill wise, it's like I think his ceiling is Dirk. I've said that one before, but but I don't know. I mean, I don't know his IQ. It's really up to the Spurs. I try to think about it, but I think the Spurs are gonna pick and choose. Obviously, I don't think that they're gonna ask him to do everything, right? But they're gonna be like, hey, coming into the league, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have him just be a spot up shooter, where he catches and either shoots it or catches and goes to the rim, because that's what he did best this year in Austin. He didn't mess around with much, he just was really trying to extend his 3-point consistency. I felt mostly this season in Austin. So I feel like, okay, what did you guys? I felt like the conversation maybe between San Antonio and Austin was like, all right, so what do we want Luka to be ready for to contribute for us next year? And I think maybe 3-point shooting was just the one on the top of the list at his position.
Could you guys ever see him being a go-to guy, like as far as like
Yes.
giving the ball and let him ISO?
Yeah, I can. I think so.
Really?
That's what I'm saying, man. If he's our best player, like in 4 years, like he just really develops year by year, adding something to his game efficiently, you know, where he can do them efficiently. And defensively, if he can use his athleticism and his timing increases, sky's, I don't know, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think all of us are pretty.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys that's scary because, like, I'd like to add to that, Rob. I feel like the G League, they just told him 3-point shooting, power, post moves, rebounds.
Yeah,
like three things we need. And like he's one of those guys that like he's scary because we're looking for like bailout buckets right now, because we're struggling to get good offensive possessions and all that. And he's one guy that when the offense breaks down, there's literally like 18 different ways he could score on you whenever he wants if he can fully develop his potential, and that's nuts.
Yeah, that's true. I remember you got me on that one, Harrison. On my film room, that was a part of it about how what told me really after seeing all of the film that I did when I was doing that video, what showed to me that he was going to be a special player was his footwork. Like he came into this league and he can post up already. Like on small players, big players, he knows how to beat them. He knows how to beat bigger players with quickness, and he knows how to bully smaller mismatches on the post, on the mid post, and on the block. So yeah, his footwork is ahead of maybe even half of the NBA's already right now.
He's not afraid of anybody.
Yeah, he also knows when to pass and when to shoot right now. Like especially in like I think he debuted against the Nets. I mean, he didn't score, but the shots he took, they were wide open. I mean, they were good shots. He just missed. And, like, I mean, he got, I think, 4 assists in that game. He had, like, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. And, I mean, they were all beautiful assists.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of them were, there was one back to basket, 2 driving, and then one where he faced up and then wrapped around the Drew. I was like, damn, man, this is going to be insane if we have this improving at a steady rate over the years.
Do you guys see him playing next year?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Now, who's
at least some?
Yeah. I think we can expect like Lonnie. I think like the Lonnie treatment, right? Like he's not gonna play maybe in those first like 10 games. We might not see him until the third quarter of game 17 or something like that.
Yeah, because I know Keldon's gonna be there. So I think we all can agree that Keldon is going to get minutes, probably significant minutes, I would think. I don't know. It's very weird with the Spurs to me because it seems like we're lacking a big man at this point. Like we have 2 bigs, but it's like we're lacking it, especially coming off the bench. Yet we haven't really played Metu or Luka or tried to even bring them in that much.
Yeah, no, not really.
And we're not huge on Eubanks either, which is weird because I thought Eubanks was pretty good. So sometimes I get confused with what direction we want to go in. But I mean, these next couple seasons, this season, obviously, and the next season might be just a wash and just trying to develop players at this point.
Well, this season was a real transitional season for the big man position for us because before this year, excuse me, guys, I'm gonna tell everyone, I don't have the corona. I have a cough. All right? I have a cough, all right? I've had this cough forever before corona, all right? Before Wuhan or whatever.
Your fiance is really gonna hate you.
Yeah, see, she's been, she hasn't gotten it. She hasn't gotten my cough that I've had for like 2-3 months already, so I don't know what. It just never goes away. I think it's allergies. Anyways, I think it's allergies. But I think this year was, in talking about style of play, before this season, we were doing Pau Gasol and LaMarcus Aldridge. We were going double bigs, for the past 2 or 3 years before that. And then before that, it was Tim Duncan and LaMarcus. And then before that, it was Boris Diaw, Thiago Splitter, and Tim Duncan, right? So we had 2 bigs all the time during this whole Golden State run. During this Golden State run, we were like, we're not going to beat them at going small ball. I know everyone else wants to try, but we're not going to try. We're going to go big, and we're going to try to beat them with a different style and make them try to play our game. And it almost worked, man. Zaza fucked us up. You know what I mean? Zaza fucked us up. But I think this year was the complete opposite. It was either LaMarcus Aldridge and Trey Lyles, so, and then sometimes it was just Trey Lyles for the most part, I would think. It was never Jakob and LaMarcus. And coming into the season, I thought we were going to have a lineup something like DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, Jakob, Derek, and DeJounte. And I was like, holy shit. Then in a lineup like that, I really don't mind DeMar DeRozan getting all the shots. You know what I mean? I really don't. But because that's such a good defensive lineup, but we never saw it. And the bigs did not get a lot of run this year for San Antonio.
Yeah, we did not play at our strength. It felt like we were playing a brand of basketball that just didn't fit with who was on the court. And honestly, it was a way too big reliance on Bryn Forbes. Just way too reliant. I mean, every single game that I've watched, it was, yes, set up Bryn Forbes. Yes, set up Bryn Forbes. And if that doesn't work, then now, you got 12 seconds left on the clock. And it's just like, good Lord. Like, okay, what do we do now? ISO?
Yeah.
Like,
what do you do?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And like you said, Rob, we should have just played on our strengths, man. Like, that would have been the best thing to do, in my opinion, is just have your defenders out there play on defense. Because no one on this team can just put up consistent buckets. Like, yes, DeMar DeRozan can do it, but he can be inconsistent at times. Yes, LA can do it, but he can be inconsistent. So the only thing that we had that was consistent would have been our defense, but we never played on it. And even Carroll, not playing Carroll, I mean, in hindsight, I don't think it was that big of a deal. But at the time when the season started, it was like we all were thinking he's definitely going to play because we need that defense.
Why not try it?
Yeah, why not at least try it? So
yeah.
it was weird, man.
And like, I wonder too, like with Yaka and stuff, I honestly wonder because like I think he can fit next to LaMarcus. I know it's tough because LaMarcus is really hesitant to play that stretch game, but I think a lot of the trouble Pop's had is he can't really put Jakob on the floor with LaMarcus and then DeRozan in there at the same time because everyone gets mad when I compare Jakob to Thiago Splitter, and maybe their skill sets aren't similar, but it's kind of the same thing where they're not great mid-range threats. Their biggest threat is defensively and then scoring around the basket and on rolls and setting screens. And I think when LaMarcus and Jakob are in, they're most effective when they do kind of a rolling post situation like we ran in 2014 and 2013 with Tim, Thiago, and Boris and Thiago, and Boris and Tim, and all that. But when DeRozan's in with both of them, you can't do that because he's patrolling the mid-range so much that it just clogs everything up when you got two guys, rolling in the paint, and then another guy trying to slash and pull up and slash and get to the cup. And that's, no knock on DeRozan. That's what he's supposed to do. But that's what we're talking about is just right now the way this team is set up, it does not make sense. And we're just kind of pieced together with guys that we're trying to win games. It's your classic video game situation where you put together big names and you're trying to win games, but it doesn't work in real life. You got to have pieces that work together cohesively like a machine, and I think that's part of the problem.
Now, from what you've seen, because I just saw a comment from our girl Ruru.
Thanks for joining, Ruru. Appreciate you.
Can't have consistent defense when you don't have high defensive IQ players. So, do you think that we have high defensive IQ players?
We do, man.
I think we have a few, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think a big problem with our defense is, one, how we mix and match guys. I mean, like we say, we don't play Jakob in there because of we need to score, and if we don't have DeRozan in for the most part because of, like you said, reliance on Forbes, we're not scoring a lot. I'm not knocking DeMar. I love DeMar DeRozan. That guy has carried our team night in and night out the last 2 seasons. I mean, if we don't have him, we probably lose another 20 games this season. But, then you have to pull Jakob out so you can have him in there. And, DeMar isn't the highest IQ defender. You got Murray, who I think is a high IQ defender. We've been playing Forbes, who's not. So then there's two non-IQ defenders. There's Aldridge, who's a good team defender, and then Lyles, who isn't a great defender. So there's a layup line to the basket. I mean, then if you throw Murray and White in there, you have great perimeter defense, but then, DeRozan isn't great on the help, and, if Pirtle's not there to clean up after it, it's another layup line. It's just a matter of mixing and matching the high IQ with low IQs, and you haven't done that this year.
That blew my mind that you said that, because I've seen that too. Like, DeMar DeRozan is not good on double teams. Like, he is terrible at it. Like, you can just see the double team coming from a mile away. He's more so, as far as on defense, I don't think he's a bad defender. He's probably just like an average one that's an opportunist. Like, he'll get a steal here and there. He might get a sneak block.
He's a lane jumper.
Yeah. That's exactly what he is. So he's not, a good defender, but he's like an average defender. As far as is the team defensive IQ low, I would say no, like not at all. I mean, especially compared to other teams. But if we're just looking at us, Murray, high defensive IQ, easy. Bryn Forbes actually has a high defensive IQ.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah,
play defense because his size. Yeah, because I mean he's there, he's contesting.
Bryn is a very
he's switching when he should. Lonnie Walker's IQ might be a little lower, but I mean he's learning, and when he's on. Like, I'm not over him locking down James Harden. Like, he can lock down the best of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's high. Like, most of the people on the team can play defense. They know the defensive scheme. They're not bad. Even Marco Bellinelli IQ isn't low on defense. Sometimes he doesn't box out, so that's pretty awful. But
no, that's a good question, Ruru. Thank you for dropping in the chat. We appreciate you. I think like everyone said, our IQ as a team is probably top 4 in the league every single year. Now it's just like, can we execute that is the problem, has been the problem. And I'm glad you said it, Destin. Bryn is not a bad. I would have to disagree with Harrison too. I think Bryn is actually a really good defender. He's actually a very good help side defender. He rotates extremely actively. On the defensive end, he's always moving, head on a swivel. But it just comes down to his size and an ability to affect shots. That's not really there. You know what I mean? So because I'm doing I just finished last night. I'm going to start rendering my Derek White DeJounte video, and there's going to be some times in that video where I'm talking about where on defense they're even still susceptible, and that's because those aren't the only two guys on the floor, like you guys said. Like, DeJounte and Derek White can put hella ball pressure and deny hell out of wings and guards from trying to get the ball. But, there's a lot of times where in the film room, you're going to see LaMarcus kind of not put the extra effort on the rotation, or not maybe go out and chase down, contest a three off a ball screen or things like that, where, man, we have such great defensive possessions because our IQ is high, but it's just selective and it's inconsistent from our guys that are getting all the minutes this season.
I've seen that too.
I'll say one thing in defense of LaMarcus. Sometimes I think he gets a bad rap with effort. There are times where I'm thinking, why didn't he get out there? But then there are other times, I think, honestly, because it's become such a layup line, especially with like the weak side screens and all that, where he's just so uncertain whether a player's going to pull up or if he's going to drive on him, that he just kind of freezes. And it looks like he's not putting in the effort, but it's just really that it's happening so many times. He's just not sure what to do anymore. Look back on like when we had Kawhi, and I mean, he was a really good paint defender there. He made good decisions.
That's the point I was going to hit, Harrison, that he is still a very good rim protector. It's not really the rim protector and protecting the paint that I've seen where he struggles now. He struggles a lot when he ends up switched up on a guard. It's almost guaranteed bucket. If you're Chris Paul or Dennis Schroeder, you're going to get a bucket on LaMarcus if he ends up switching on you.
I mean, he doesn't have much lateral movement at all.
And in today's game, that's hurting us a lot. So would you rather have a more active, Jakob or someone like that who can just stay in front of small guards? Because, LaMarcus couldn't this year at all.
Yeah, I see a comment here talking about, Tim when he was with his tenure with the Spurs, they were always top 3 or top 4, and we don't have that commitment on the defensive side of the ball. I think honestly, I can see that because I think that the one of the biggest issues we have right now, which it happened ever since Kawhi did what he did, was I don't think we have a defensive leader. Like I don't think we have that player that's just going to set the tone for the whole team because Duncan was that guy. Like he was constantly, it wasn't just Pop saying this is how you play defense. It was Tim Duncan that could go in there, talk to the guys, say this is what I'm seeing, and he was a great example for that. Right now, I think we have DeJounte Murray who can kind of set the tone, but at the same time, DeJounte Murray is young, and even times on defense with DeJounte, he reaches sometimes when he shouldn't reach. He gets overly aggressive. So I think maybe we just don't have that player to really set the tone like we normally do. Do you guys think that?
I'll take that a step further. I think we just don't have a leader in general right now because, we have guys that will be vocal, but it's not necessarily like, oh, these people can't lead. I think they're all capable of leading. It's just like we say, it's a tough spot. DeRozan was traded here almost just about 2 years ago, like a year and a half, I'll say. Just it's more than that, but just for the sake of it. So, he's still kind of unsure whether or not to treat this like his team. LaMarcus joined up and it was, Kawhi's team, and then DeRozan comes in and he's trying to let him take over, and DeJounte's still young and he's trying to let defer to the vets, and the young guys are waiting for DeJounte to step up. So it's just a mess of things. And honestly, I think from what I've seen, just kind of relationship and vocal wise, I think that the first step is going to have to be with DeJounte. Just because he's the kind of guy that bridges the gap between the vets and the young guys. And he can be that guy that kind of leads the team both offensively and defensively, and just kind of bring them together. Because we talked about lack of cohesion. I think that's one reason why we just don't have, one guy that can kind of glue the team together this year like we have in the past.
I got a question for you guys. Do you think, because it was something interesting that you said that we don't have a leader at all. And I saw going into the season that DeJounte Murray wanted to be that leader. But I don't even know if all of us would agree that he's the best player on the team. Like, do you have to be the best player on the team to be the leader of the team? Or does it just kind of happen, like a byproduct of that?
No, it's they're not mutually they're not mutually exclusive, man. Sometimes your captains are like your 8th and 9th guy on the bench, you know what I mean? But they're the ones that kind of hold this team together. So no, they're not directly correlated. And I think you guys are right, man. That was at the end of the day, defensively, we had no identity. We didn't have a leader. And I started realizing that. When did y'all start realizing that? I started realizing that like in game like 5 or 6 when we dropped one to like Washington or not to Washington to we started dropping early, man, to some sorry like teams, and that's when I realized, wow, we don't have anyone on this team who's just gonna make sure that we get this W. You know what I mean? Like, or who's gonna go out and get that stop? And I kind of felt like it was Derek White. It was supposed to be Derek White, but then I can't put it on him either because who knows, what type of minutes he was gonna get from game tonight. Was he gonna be subbed in early, or was he gonna be subbed in late? Were they gonna give more run to DeJounte, from this game to the next game? It was a real, because of the minute restriction, DeJounte's, I felt like that affected the whole team. Like that it really hindered the chemistry in the first few months, which is so crucial. You got to build early, man. You got to start building that rock early. It just never happened.
Yeah.
Well, and like you look at the Warriors, their leader is Draymond Green. I mean, that's who leads them. He's not their best player. I don't know if he's like, they're like, I guess, play style leader. But if you look at them from a game standpoint, he's the one who's always got the guys off the bench. He's always in the people's ear. Wouldn't say he's the best leader in the world, but I mean, he's the one that's kind of amping the team up and getting them ready to go. But I think what clued me on just not really having that presence was, like you said, Rob, we started dropping games, but also, I mean, not the fact that they were just bad teams, but I mean, when it came down the stretch, they were very winnable. Like, we were in them and we had a chance to win them, and we just did stupid things at the end that, like, no team that's on the stage with each other is gonna do. Maybe once or twice a season, but never consistently. And we did it like 7 to 8 times in a row to drop games.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that I don't know, man. It's so tough with me thinking about, like, I see where you come from with Draymond Green being the leader of that team, but then at the same time, it's like, and they had Kevin Durant, and he was a guy that they just go to at the end of games, and I mean, he was the leader on the court.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had a super team, so it's a little different situation.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, with us, as far as this season is concerned, I think that some of the issues that we're having, like, especially at the end of games where you're saying, like, we screw up, we do something dumb, and maybe it is the fact that our best player does that too. I mean, because there was many occasions this season where I saw DeMar DeRozan get a foul when he shouldn't have got a foul, or, got a tech when he shouldn't have got a tech, or, just kind of his mind just goes out of the game, or like it seems like it's coming from the leaders. And like you said, that maybe we do just need a leader. And I see Ruru also said that she believes that Keldon and Lonnie will be the voices. I don't know. I don't know who the next true leader of the Spurs will be.
I think the Spurs are hoping that it's DeJounte, and I think that we're all kind of maybe seeing after this season that it could also be Lonnie, like Rue was saying. So I think it could be both. I think maybe when it comes to, like, defensive, like, effort-wise and making sure that it's there, I think DeJounte has that responsibility, I think, making sure that, you guys are getting your buckets and things like that in the future on the offensive side, leading on the offensive side of the floor, maybe is Lonnie Walker. I don't know. It's a big question, and it definitely hurt us this season in our identity. We didn't have one.
Not at all.
Yeah, I'll say, like, Lonnie, we knew the basketball side was there, but as far as, like, who grew the most from, like, a personal standpoint and just as a teammate and a leader, I think that's him. We talked earlier in the mailbag about how early in the season he'd get pulled because his mouth was shut the entire time he was on the court. I mean, later in the season, he's in the game, he's talking to people. I mean, that was, complete 180 towards the end. That's a really good sign. And, maybe it's a ton of voices. That could be it. We may not have one individual leader. We may have an entire team of guys who's capable of doing it. And that's not a bad thing either. As long as they're all on the same page, the more the merrier.
I guess it's just, I mean, it will be I just haven't seen, and you guys can correct me, I just haven't really seen a team, I guess other than a super team maybe, but like a team that don't have a definite leader. Like, it seems like every single time I've seen a team win championships, for the most part, it's a leader, and there's leaders on the team, but there's one guy that you look to and say, this is the leader, this is the guy, like, definitively that we could count on over and over. And it's just tough, because even with the Kawhi thing, even Popovich said that he didn't believe Kawhi was a leader, which, during that stretch, you had Duncan, that was more of a leader. That was the leader. But post that, if he was on the team right now, we would definitely say he's the leader, and he's not super vocal. So I don't know. It's a tough thing right now with us. What do you guys think about that?
Do you want to go first, Rob, or you want me to jump in?
No, I mean, I feel like, we have people who can do it, like Harrison said. Like, I think Derek White can be that type of guy too. I mean, Patty Mills did it to the best of his ability this season for us, and it's just, but that was more off the court, I felt like, than on the court, and just who was going to be that guy for us on the court that was going to lead us and make sure that we win. Like you said, Destin, DeMar, I wouldn't trust him, because I think he might go, and it might be the second to last possession of the game, and he's gonna go kick the ref in the nuts, and get ejected and something like that, and then then what do we do next? I have no idea, so I can't really trust him like that. As that's in my shoes. I'm sure everyone in that locker room trusts each other, on multiple levels, but yeah, what do you think, Harrison?
I won't pin it all on DeMar. I mean, from like what I saw, it was just like, I mean, there were times at the end of the game DeMar wasn't even on the court, and it's just like, yeah, every player had a bad moment at the end of games that were winnable, whether it's a bad pass, a bad foul, some stupid defensive lapse that cost us the game, not fouling, in the case of LaMarcus and the playoff series. I mean, everyone has done stupid things. And to your point, Destin, I mean, yeah, I don't think there has been any team that's won it without at least some kind of alpha and beta dog that's out there leading. Because, I mean, dysfunction equals losses and failures. I mean, look at any business, any government. I mean, if it's dysfunctional, it's not going to work. And we've seen that firsthand this year. Just the guys could not pull together as a single unit. And, it's a team game. And if you got all these guys trying to – and that's another point I'll make is at the end of the game, I think we all got suckered into hero ball. Not just DeRozan. There were – bad shots by Aldridge, early in the shot clock shots when we could have held for a 2-for-1, stuff like that, jacking up threes contested by two people, taking, bad pull-up mid-range jumpers, making bad passes when you should have taken a layup, taking contested layups in the post when you can pass out for an open three. It's just, it falls on everyone. It was not a good year for that and team chemistry, and it's something they're going to really have to work on this summer.
I want to say that I apologize to you, Rob. I remember a year ago you told me you said, listen, Clan, listen, DeMar DeRozan, what he did getting ejected in the playoffs was a big no-no, and you were so irritated, so upset about it. And I said, no, man, it's okay, it's his first year, he's going to learn the Spurs way. And I kid you not, when he was getting ejected this season, or getting those texts when he didn't need to get those texts, man, I just thought back at what you said, and I just want to say sorry. You were right.
Hey, don't apologize to me, man.
No, man, you called it. You were the only one.
well, I mean, it's the only reason why it bothered me so much was, because it pretty much told me that he cared about himself and his emotions more than winning that game, and it's a playoff game, and that's just that's not how we've ever done things, and it's not a one-time thing. Like, with me, that's why I was so adamant at that point. It's just because I was like, this is a pattern, man. I'm like, this is a pattern, and then now he does it in the playoff game. I'm like, dude, come on. When have we ever had any of our players or coaches ever ejected from a playoff game? I mean,
it's one thing if it's like a 30-point blowout, but the thing that I was mad about was that was a winnable game, and I was like, come on, man, keep it cool. We need you right now.
Was it the third or fourth? There was 5 minutes left. I don't know. I don't remember if it was in the third quarter or the fourth quarter. There's still so much time to play left in that game.
I'm looking up.
I don't know. I like DeMar too. I think he's a great player, great dude, cool dude. I think it's just the fit is not right here, and I'm not. If he stays here long term, I'm not gonna be mad about it. But I just don't think. I think that what he has done has showed us that that's different from the way that we've done things, from the expectations that we've put on our best players and the guys that we pay, $20-some million a year to be there at the end of a freaking playoff game. Yeah, that bothers me.
It was we were actually down by 18, and it was 5 minutes left. But if I remember correctly, we were going on a little run. That's why we felt like it was pretty close.
Hey, we don't stop playing until the freaking buzzer goes off. You know what I mean? It's you can go. Lonnie Walker went on a 17-0 run on his own in a regular season game, but who's to say that in the next 3 minutes the Spurs don't go on a 6-8-0 run and knock that 15 down to 8 or 9, and it's under double digits in the last 2 minutes.
Also, in an NBA game, an 18-point lead is nothing. Those disappear all the time.
Yeah.
They did it to us, guys. Didn't they do it to us in game 2 where we had a big lead and they just took off? So,
yeah. They're up 20, 25, something like that. They came all the way back.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, man.
Just took off.
But let's talk about real quick. We'll keep it really really short. What do y'all think the NBA? I brought this up on the pod with Noah. We talked about it a little bit, Harrison. But like Woj has been kind of coming out with some tweets saying that a lot of teams, they're not all on board for resuming practice because of the states in which they are. Some teams can practice, some teams can't. Even if some teams can, like Atlanta's like, no, thank you, we're gonna wait. And just I kind of want to get your opinion on the whole situation. Like, should the NBA start like up again with like a 2-week training camp and then try to get this thing rolling again? Because a lot of states are opening their doors up again.
I'm not a fan of it. I've talked to a few athletic trainers the past week, and they're not fans of it either. Just because they look at the studies that go into this, and we've been pretty much shut down as a country for about a month now. And I mean, yeah, I know these basketball players are still working out and all, but that's a month without any full-on, 5-on-5 game action that these guys have gone through, and that takes a toll. I mean, think about what the start of the season looks like in the NBA versus like playoff basketball when guys are ready. And the virus aside, because obviously that's a risk in itself, but just the number of ankle and leg injuries that players are going to be at risk for if they resume the season too quickly, if at all, that concerns me, especially if the Spurs play on in a season that pretty much is useless to play anymore for us right now, with a guy especially that we have less than a year removed from an ACL tear. That doesn't sit right with me. So I'm not too much in favor of it right now. I think they should just kind of play it by ear, give it a little bit more, monitor it some, and then see about getting players, into workouts, take the off season like normal, and then just start up next year. I know it stinks, for teams like the Lakers and the Bucks who are looking at making deep playoff runs. But I mean, I wrote about the Spurs a little while back, the teams that should have won a championship, and the 99-2000 Spurs where Duncan tore his meniscus and he's begging to play, and Pop sat him because he said he's all about the future, and it paid off. Duncan came back just as strong the next year and went on to win 4 more titles and a couple MVPs after he tore his meniscus and all that. And I think it's just better to look at the future of these players and say, okay, let's do what's best for them. I mean, LeBron James, the greatest player of our generation, he could have 1 or 2 more title runs in him. And if he gets hurt right now, it could be a Kobe Bryant situation where Kobe might have been able to play 3 or 4 more years had he not, torn his meniscus from just, stretching his body too much that season. And I'd hate to see that. So I'm not too much in favor of, restarting, at least right now.
Yeah, I guess I see it like, what's the best case scenario? Okay, we get basketball, everyone's healthy, we get subpar basketball, probably don't have fans. I mean, okay, and then what's the worst that could happen? Like you said, injuries, another player gets sick. Like it really is just a matter of just being patient. I feel like we're lacking some patience right now, and I know a lot of people want sports back, and I want sports back, obviously. And maybe it's kind of easy for me to say with us out of the playoffs, and we were like, whatever. But yeah. But it's like, man, basketball is important and sports is important. But for this situation right here, it's like, maybe we should just be patient. And if you be patient, we'll get the best, product out there. So, it just seems a little rushed to me. I'm not huge on it. I kind of understand it only because I did realize that a lot of these players don't have gyms, which is weird to me, but I guess the younger ones we don't have them.
Well, like Giannis was saying, he doesn't even have like access to a basketball court, stuff like that. So he's like hardly played this entire quarantine.
Yeah, that's so weird.
And
and for the older players, I disagree with you with LeBron being the best player of this generation. I don't think so. But the older players, I do understand that like they can get injured. Like LeBron said it himself. He said, a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm going to be so great when the season comes back." And he's like, "No, that's not the case." Like,
No.
I mean, I could get hurt. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, how old is LeBron? What is he, like 34, 35? Yeah, I mean, 35 years old. I know 35 is not old, but NBA, to be doing what he's doing and leading a team, to take a month off from that and not do it and then go straight back into doing it. I mean, I don't know if to put it into an analogy. It's like, I don't know if anybody remembers, like, back when like you used to do like weight training for a sport in high school or something like that, and then you'd stop and go switch sports, and then that sport would end, then you go back in the spring to do more weight training, and it was like, oh my god, like this is rough, like it's bad. And then my thing is, what if a bunch of players get hurt and then more get this virus and they have to shut down again? So then you've got players hurt and you've reopened for nothing except to hurt guys and have to cancel the season again. So it's just, there's too many variables, I think.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day,
I also heard that, if we're staying on the subject, I also heard that it might not be until 2 years before fans be at the stadiums. Is that right? Dang,
I don't know. I don't think we know any of that type of information yet. But I think you guys are right, man. I think you got to protect the product. At the end of the day, it's a business. You want to protect the product, and the product is the players, and you don't want to put them at risk. I definitely wouldn't want to throw them back. I don't mind them doing taking the month to do a training camp, like an extended training camp, and then just have a tournament in July in Las Vegas. I do like that. I think those athletes, yes, they need time to get back in shape and whatever. Yeah, but you're probably right, Harrison. I don't think the quality of basketball will be all that good. You know what I mean? It's like these guys haven't played in 2 or 3 months, and then we want them to go do a tournament in Vegas, a single elimination game. Why does that? Why for what?
I especially don't want a single elimination tournament, because in that format, that's just prime for Steph Curry to catch fire, win the Warriors another championship, and give them the number one pick. Not about that.
Yeah, and one of the best things about sports, or especially basketball, in the season, is around this time. Well, when the season ended, around that time, that's when momentum is picking up, and that's what makes playoff basketball good. Those last 20 games going into the playoffs, that's what makes it good, because they got that momentum. I mean, you jumping straight into high intensity playoff trying to get a championship, it's just it's not gonna look that good like Harrison.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it. Are you guys good with this one? We've been on for about an hour.
Yeah.
Give a shout out to everyone in the chat room. What's the name? Luis Cervantes and Rue. You guys are super active in the chat room. We love that. Y'all keep that up. If you guys can join every time, we would love that. All right. So we love what you guys bring to the table for our chat room. Now, I'm Robert Trejo with Bucking Spurs. Harrison, why don't you tell everyone where people can find you?
Yeah, we're at Facebook. San Antonio Spurs Talk, Instagram SA Spurs Talk, and on Twitter at SA Spurs Talk 21.
Awesome. Destin, shout out to Spurs Nation.
Yeah, you can find me, Clan the Spurs Fan. You can find me on Facebook or YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, you can find me Spurs Wave or Spurs Dynasty on Instagram, and I'm very active with Spurs Dynasty, so make sure you follow that.
If you're listening to this right now, just giving everyone a heads up, tomorrow, podcast dropping where Destin and I chatted with Noah Magato from Pounding the Rock, and we talked a bunch of things Spurs. I mean, it was a fun conversation, a lot of fun. So make sure that you guys check that out. You can find it on Spotify. It'll be dropping tomorrow around 11 a.m. We're working on getting it on iTunes. It might be on iTunes by tomorrow, but just keep your heads to the ground. You can always find it at oocspurs.com, right? So you can just go there, and we have our Spotify media player there, and you can just go ahead and click away and listen and enjoy. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in with us for this episode of OOC Live. Court is adjourned.